He thought his past was buried until his SUV stopped beside a starving woman, and the child on her lap looked exactly like him. 6 years ago, he threw her out in a storm, called her a liar, and walked away. Now, fate drags him back to the woman he destroyed and the son fighting for his life. A story of guilt, truth, and a second chance he never deserved. The afternoon sun burned fiercely across the city, but inside the black SUV gliding through traffic, the chilled air hummed softly against the windows. Daniel Obi sat in the back seat, his posture straight and polished, like the Italian suit hugging his frame. His eyes, however, betrayed the exhaustion he carried in silence. At 43, wealth had found him, respect bowed before him, and deals fought for his signature. But happiness had never managed to stay. He scrolled through documents on his tablet, barely blinking, his mind lost in the noise of corporate deadlines. "Sir," his driver Tunde said carefully, "they have closed the main road. They say construction. I will pass through the old district." Daniel barely nodded. "Fine. Just don't delay me." Outside the window, the smooth roads and towering buildings gradually disappeared. In their place rose worn fences, rusted roofs, cracked pavements, and busy roadside sellers shouting over engines. Children sprinted barefoot across dusty patches, chasing tires and laughter. The deeper they went, the heavier Daniel's chest felt. It had been years since he had seen these streets, years since he escaped them. Tunde slowed the car slightly. "Sir, see that woman? Life is hard." Something about the tone made Daniel lift his eyes, and that was when his breath caught in his throat. A woman sat by the roadside, her back resting weakly against a dirty wall. Her wrapper was torn, her blouse faded, her skin thin enough that her bones shaped the fabric around her shoulders. Beside her, a small metal bowl sat pathetically empty, holding only a few dull coins. On her lap lay a little boy, sleeping with his head pressed to her chest. The blanket wrapped around him was so worn it looked like discarded cloth. Cars drove past her, people walked by. No one stopped. Her head lifted slowly, as if weighed down by years of suffering. Her eyes, hollow but soft, scanned the road. Daniel's tablet slipped from his hand. The world shrank. The silence in the SUV thickened until he could hear his own heartbeat pounding against his ribs. His mouth went dry, his fingers trembled, and his vision blurred for a moment as disbelief crashed into him. "No," he whispered. "No, this can't be." But it was. He knew that face. Even in its brokenness, he could never mistake it. "Stop the car," he murmured. "Sir?" Tunde asked. "I said stop the car." The SUV halted sharply. Daniel leaned forward, staring through the glass like a man seeing a ghost. The woman looked thinner, weaker, almost fading. But it was her, Amara. The woman he once held at night when the world felt too heavy. The woman who had stood beside him when he had nothing but dreams. The woman he had thrown out in anger, pregnant, trembling, crying in the rain, accusing her of betrayal she never committed. And now she was sitting on bare ground, begging for coins with a child tucked against her. His chest tightened painfully. "Sir, are you all right?" Tunde asked gently. Daniel didn't answer. He couldn't. His breath felt trapped inside him. Amara stroked the child's head with weak fingers. She tried to adjust him, her arms trembling from exhaustion. Then she coughed, a small, dry cough that sounded like it came from someone who had long stopped hoping. Daniel looked away sharply, forcing air into his lungs. "Take me home," he said. "Sir, but—" "Just drive, Tunde." As the SUV rolled away, Amara's form grew smaller in the side mirror until she disappeared completely. Daniel pressed both hands to his face as hot tears filled his eyes. He turned away from the window, ashamed of the emotions clawing at his heart. Back in his mansion that evening, every chandelier felt too bright, every polished wall too empty. He moved through the house like a stranger, unable to shake the image from his mind. Amara, thin and tired, and the child sleeping on her lap. A child who looked old enough to be— No, it couldn't be. Daniel sank onto his couch, shaking. But deep inside, something whispered, "You did this." And for the first time in years, Daniel realized that the past he buried was not dead, only waiting. 6 years passed like fast traffic on Third Mainland Bridge. Daniel worked, acted, wrote small scripts. Laura directed shows, trained younger actors, and watched the theatre survive and fail and rise again. They spent long evenings talking on plastic chairs behind the building. He learned the way she liked her tea, strong, with ginger. She learned that when he was scared, he joked too much. Their hands brushed one night while they shared suya in silence. Neither pulled away. "Laura," he said, breaking the quiet, "I love you." She froze. "Daniel, don't play with me," she said. "I have lived too long for childish games." "I am not playing," he replied. "I have known it for years." Her eyes searched his face. Lagos night sounds, buses, music from far-off bars, a muezzin's call filled the space between them. "I am 40 now," she said. "You are 27. "Yes. In a few years, people will call you old. They already call me old. They will talk, they will laugh. Lagos will always talk," he said. "Lagos talks when it is hungry. Lagos talks when it is full." She almost smiled. "I may never give you children," she whispered. "My body has lived long without pregnancy." "Then we will find another way," he said softly. "I am not marrying a womb. I am marrying you." Her eyes shone in the dim light. "Are you sure?" she asked. "This is not a film. This is real life. One day, I will be 60 while you are 47. Your friends will marry younger women. People will ask if I am your mother." He nodded gently. "Let them ask. I will answer. She is my wife." She looked away, breathing slowly, fighting the storm inside her. Finally, she spoke. "Then marry me, Daniel," she said. "Marry me in this noisy city that loves gossip. Let Lagos be the witness." They had a small wedding in a quiet church in Abuja, away from the noise, then a simple party in Lagos when they returned. People came with smiles and long eyes. His family was confused, but tried. Her few relatives were tired and sharp. A cousin pulled him aside, hissing, "You are wasting your youth." Daniel simply squeezed Laura's hand as they cut a small cake. That night, when everyone had gone, they sat on the floor of their modest flat, plates scattered around them, sweat still on their faces from dancing. "Are you afraid?" Laura asked softly. "Yes," Daniel said honestly, "but I am more afraid of not choosing you." Outside, the Lagos night stretched wide and restless. Inside, two hearts signed a quiet, serious agreement to walk one road, even when the ground turned rough. Neither of them knew the ground would soon shake beneath their feet. Rain hammered violently against the windows that night, as if the sky itself were grieving for what was about to happen. Inside the living room, Amara stood, trembling, her hands shaking as she clutched the photographs Daniel had thrown at her feet. Her heart pounded like a trapped bird. Her breaths came out in broken shivers. She had never seen her husband look at her with such coldness, such disgust, as though she were a stranger he regretted letting inside. "Daniel," she whispered, trying to steady her voice, "you have to listen to me. This is not what you think. That man tricked me. He said he wanted to discuss your project in a quiet place. I didn't know." Daniel cut her off with a bitter laugh. that cut through her chest. Do you think I'm a fool? Do you think I don't know what happens in places like that lodge? Do you think you're smarter than me, Amara? Her lips trembled. No, Daniel. I would never, never, he snapped. Then tell me why his hand is on your shoulder. Tell me why you were seen entering a lodge with him. Tell me why you hid it from me. I didn't hide anything. I didn't think it was important. I didn't know he planned. Enough, Daniel thundered. I have heard enough of your lies. She took a step toward him, desperate. Daniel, I am pregnant, she said softly, as if her voice could crack open his stubbornness. Her hand moved to rest protectively over her stomach. I am carrying your child. For a moment, the storm outside seemed to pause. Even the air held its breath. But Daniel's eyes hardened instead of softening. Pregnant, he repeated slowly, his voice lowering into something deadly. With my child? Or his? The words hit her like a slap. Amara staggered back, covering her mouth with her hand. Tears burst from her eyes, falling like rain against her cheeks. You think that little of me? She whispered. You think I would betray you like that? You already did. No, she cried, shaking her head wildly. Daniel, look at me, look at my face, look into my eyes, and tell me if you see a lie. I have never loved any man but you, never touched any man, never. His voice rose again, drowning her out. I trusted you, I lifted you, I gave you a life you never dreamed of. And this is how you repay me? By bringing shame into my house? By carrying a bastard? Her knees almost buckled. She reached out to him, trembling. Daniel, please, please don't say that. This is your child, our child. You know me, you know my heart. But he didn't. Not anymore. His mother's poisonous words, Chica's deceptive photos, his rising pride, his fragile ego, all of it had clouded his reason. He wasn't listening. He didn't want to listen. Get out, he said coldly. What? She breathed. You heard me? He pointed at the door. Leave my house, Amara. Tonight. Now. Daniel, she reached for him again, but he stepped back as if her touch was fire. Tears streamed down her face. Where do you want me to go? It is raining. Daniel, I have nowhere. That is no longer my concern. Pack your things and get out.
You are throwing your pregnant wife into the rain? She cried, her voice cracking. Into the night? With nowhere to go? His jaw tightened. Do not call yourself my wife. Not after this. She shook, sobbing. Daniel, for the love we shared, for the nights we prayed together, for everything we survived. Go! The shout echoed through the house, louder than the storm outside. Her heart shattered completely. Slowly, painfully, she bent down and picked up the small nylon bag she had left near the door, containing nothing but 2 dresses, a wrapper, and her old prayer book. Her tears dripped onto the tiled floor. She opened the door, and the cold rain rushed inside immediately, hitting her skin like needles. She turned back one last time, her voice breaking. God sees my heart. One day, Daniel, one day, the truth will find you. He didn't answer. He turned his back. Amara stepped into the rain, the door closing behind her with a finality that sounded like death. And that night, as she walked away, soaked, shivering and pregnant, Daniel sealed a destiny that would one day return to destroy him. Daniel barely slept after seeing Amara on the roadside. He lay awake in his wide, luxurious bed, staring at the ceiling while the air conditioner hummed softly in the shadows. The mansion around him felt colder than usual, as if the marble floors and high ceilings were mocking him with their emptiness. He turned from side to side, but every movement felt heavy. Every blink revealed another image of Amara, thin, exhausted, begging under the heat with a sleeping child on her lap. By dawn, his eyes were red, and his chest ached with a pressure he couldn't name. He sat up, inhaling deeply as though trying to steady his own heart. But nothing settled. Nothing made sense. He had tried convincing himself it wasn't her, that poverty changes faces and shapes, that his imagination had betrayed him. But the truth was undeniable. It was Amara, the woman he once vowed to protect with everything he had, and he had broken her. He dragged himself out of bed, unable to face his own reflection. The guilt he had buried for years unearthed itself like a flood. He remembered the rain that night, the way she begged him to listen, the way her hand rested over her stomach when she said she was carrying his child. He had rejected her, mocked her, ridiculed her, driven her out, forced her into a darkness she didn't deserve. His mother's voice echoed faintly in his mind. She is dragging you down. She is not your level. Chica's voice followed like poison. I saw her with another man. She's cheating on you. He had believed them both, like a fool. By morning, he showered, dressed mechanically, and went downstairs. The mansion was bright, but he felt nothing of its warmth. His phone rang. It was his mother. He ignored it. It rang again. He still ignored it. He sat at the dining table, untouched food before him, mind wrestling with memories he had desperately tried to forget. At last, he stood abruptly. "Tunde," he called. His driver rushed in. "Yes, sir?" "Get the car. We're going back to the old district." Tunde blinked. "Sir? Now?" "Now." They drove through the city again, Daniel leaning forward slightly, studying every corner. His hands were clasped tightly, his jaw set. As they entered the old district, he felt his heartbeat increase, pounding in anticipation and dread. The car approached the spot where Amara had been the previous day. But she wasn't there. Daniel's stomach dropped. "Stop," he said. He got out, looking around desperately. The street vendors were setting up. Children played near puddles left by last night's rain. The cracked wall, where she had leaned, looked painfully empty. He approached the woman frying akara. "Excuse me," he said, his voice strained. "Yesterday, there was a woman here, poorly dressed, with a little boy. Did you see her this morning?" The woman wiped her brow with her wrapper. "Ah, the beggar woman. Yes, she was here yesterday. Today I never see her. She moves. Sometimes to the market, sometimes to Junction Side." "Do you know her name?" The woman shrugged. "People no know her name. She no talk to anybody." Daniel swallowed as disappointment sank deep inside him. He spent nearly an hour walking from corner to corner, asking strangers. Some nodded, some shook their heads, some didn't care. He checked alleys, side roads, broken pavements, but she was nowhere. Just when defeat was settling heavily on his shoulders, he heard a familiar voice. "Chica, stand up. Let's try one more place today." His heart lurched. He turned. There she was, Amara, thinner than before, holding the little boy's hand. The child looked frail, his clothes oversized, his slippers broken. Amara bent to adjust his shirt gently, her movements tired but tender. Her face looked older, worn by years she had not deserved. Daniel froze. Amara looked up, and their eyes met. Shock, pain, betrayal, all flashed through her eyes like lightning. She quickly pulled the child behind her. "Chica," she said softly, "come." "Mummy, who is that man?" the boy asked innocently. "No one," she replied, her voice cold. "He is no one." The words sliced him like a blade. "Amara," Daniel breathed, taking a step forward. "Please, don't walk away." "There is nothing to say," she answered. "You said everything the night you threw me out." The boy clung to her hand. Daniel swallowed. "Amara, is he my son?" Her eyes filled. not with softness, but with unshed storms. "Why does it matter now?" she whispered. "You killed us long ago." Then she turned away with the child, leaving Daniel standing in the ruins of his own past. Daniel stood frozen as Amara turned away, her thin fingers clasping the small hand of the boy beside her. The child looked back once, just once, and in that single glance, Daniel felt his heart collapse inward like a dying star. Because in the curve of the boy's eyebrows, in the shape of his nose, in the gentle softness of his eyes, Daniel saw himself. A reflection he could not deny, a truth he had run from for too many years. He tried to speak, but his throat locked. Words failed him. The weight of everything he had done, everything he had refused to believe, crushed him in a way he had never experienced, not even during his poorest days. Amara pulled the child closer, whispering something softly as she guided him away. Daniel stood rooted in place, as though the earth had swallowed his feet. After a long moment, he forced himself to breathe. He hurried after them, calling out, "Amara, please, wait!" She stiffened, but didn't turn immediately. When she finally faced him, her expression was emotionless, an armor built over years of pain. "What do you want, Daniel?" Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the sharpness of broken glass. Daniel swallowed hard. "Please, just a moment. Let me talk to you." "You had years to talk," she replied. "You chose silence. You chose pride. You chose to believe lies." The boy tugged her hand gently. "Mummy, are you crying?" Amara blinked rapidly, forcing her tears back. "No, Chica, I am not crying." Daniel's chest tightened again. Chica, a name he should have known from birth, a name he should have whispered into the air with pride, a name that should have been registered at a hospital with him standing protectively by Amara's side. "Amara," he said softly, "please, just tell me, is he—" "I already answered that question the night you threw me out," she cut in coldly. But nothing," she snapped before he could finish. "You made your choice. You believed your mother. You believed Chica. You believed every voice except mine. And now you stand here asking questions that should have been answered years ago, questions you forfeited the right to ask." Her voice cracked on the last sentence, betraying an emotion she fought desperately to hide. Daniel looked down, shame burning through him. "I'm sorry. I know sorry means nothing compared to what I did, but—" "Stop." The word was soft but final. "I didn't come here for apologies," she said. "You have your world. I have mine. Let them stay separate." Daniel's eyes drifted to Chica, small, fragile, with tired eyes that held no bitterness, only innocence. The child clung to his mother's wrapper, watching the exchange silently. Chica looked up at Amara again. "Mummy, can we go? I'm hungry." Daniel felt the words like a knife. Hunger. For his child. A child who should have never known hunger. Amara nodded gently. "Yes, my love. We'll go." She started to walk away, but Daniel couldn't let it end like that. Not again. Not with the same hopeless finality as years ago. "Please let me help," he said, stepping forward. "Just let me talk to him. I want to—" "To what?" she demanded, spinning around. "To be a father? Now? After years of abandoning him? After leaving me to beg, to starve, to pray for miracles just to keep this child alive? Where were you when he cried from fever? When he fainted from hunger? When I sold everything I had to buy his medicine? Where were you when I labored alone, bleeding and afraid?" Daniel felt tears sting his eyes. He had no answer. Amara shook her head slowly. Fatherhood is not a title, Daniel. It is responsibility. It is love. It is sacrifice. You did none of that for him. But I can now, Daniel whispered, almost pleading. She hesitated for a moment, just a moment, before shaking her head again, more firmly. No, she said, not like this, not with wounds still bleeding. She lifted Chica into her arms. The boy leaned against her, his small arms wrapping around her neck, and the two of them walked away, one carrying scars, the other innocence. Daniel watched until they disappeared into the crowd, swallowed by the noise of the old district. He remained standing, alone. The truth was no longer a shadow. It had a name, a face, a heartbeat, and it was walking away from him. Daniel drove home from the old district with a trembling heaviness inside him. Every bump on the road felt like a reminder. Every passing street felt like a judgment. The image of Chica's face, his face, played endlessly in his mind. There was no escaping it now. No denial, no convenient lie, no excuse. The child was his. The truth was undeniable. That evening, he sat on the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. His mind raced back to the night he had thrown Amara out. Her tears, her voice cracking, her hand resting protectively over the unborn child he had refused to acknowledge. He had broken her, completely, and now he was paying for a sin he committed with a proud heart and blind arrogance. Eventually, anger, sharp and sickening, rose inside him. Anger at himself, yes, but also at the people who had fed him poison. He stood abruptly. He knew where he needed to go. Chica's mansion smelled of expensive cologne and deceit when the gate opened for him. The security guards recognized Daniel and stepped aside without questioning. Chica welcomed him with a wide smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Daniel!" he exclaimed, spreading his arms. "My brother! You didn't tell me you were coming. Sit down, have a drink." Daniel didn't move. "Did you lie to me?" he asked, voice low, controlled, but dangerous. Chica blinked. "Lie? What are you talking about?" "Did you lie about Amara?" Daniel repeated, louder this time. Chica's smile faltered. "Ah, Daniel, my friend. It's been years. Why bring that woman up? Life has moved on." "Answer me!" Daniel roared. Chica swallowed. His eyes darted away. "I only did what any loyal friend would do. You were rising fast. People were watching. Your wife, she didn't fit the image. Your mother begged me to help you see sense." Daniel felt his stomach twist. "So the photos?" Chica hesitated. "The man was a decoy. I paid him to lure her into the lodge, just to see how she would react. You needed proof." Daniel felt something break inside him. "You destroyed my marriage," he whispered. "You shattered an innocent woman. For my image? For business?" Chica shrugged, recovering some arrogance. "Look at you today. Wealthy. Powerful. You think you'd be here if you were dragging a village girl around? Come on, Daniel. It was for the best. Accept it." Daniel stepped forward so quickly that Chica flinched. "You will never speak about her like that again," he warned. "You hear me? Never." Chica scoffed. "Daniel, be realistic. That woman is beneath you. She was always—" Daniel's fist connected with his jaw before he finished the sentence. Chica stumbled back, crashing into a side table. Glass shattered. "You will regret this," Chica sputtered. "No," Daniel said coldly. "I regret ever trusting you." He turned and walked out, leaving Chica groaning on the floor. Outside, the night air felt heavy. Daniel leaned against his car, his breaths shaky. Rage churned in his veins, but beneath it lay something worse. Self-loathing. He had believed them. He had cast his wife aside like trash. He had thrown his unborn child into the storm. He had done this. A vibration from his phone broke his thoughts. His mother. He answered in silence. "Daniel," Mama Rose said, "I've been calling you since morning. Where are you? Your voice earlier—" "Mama," he interrupted, "did you and Chica set Amara up?" There was a long pause. When she finally spoke, her voice was calmer than it should have been. "We did what was necessary." Daniel shut his eyes. "You were blinded by love," she continued. "You were losing focus. That girl had too much control over you. We only let you see the truth." "You didn't show me the truth," Daniel said quietly. "You destroyed it." "What nonsense are you saying?" she snapped. "We saved you." "No," he whispered, voice trembling. "You helped me throw away the best person in my life." He hung up before she could reply and pressed his forehead against the steering wheel. For the first time in years, Daniel cried, truly cried, grief pouring from him like blood from a wound. He cried for Amara, for Chica, for the life he tore apart, and for the man he allowed himself to become. But tears alone could not fix the past. He needed to make things right, and he would start with the truth. The sky over the old district was a heavy grey, as though it sensed the tragedy preparing to unfold. Amara sat by the roadside, her back aching from exhaustion. The past few days had drained her more than she wanted to admit. She hadn't eaten since the day before, and the little she could afford went straight to Chica. Her son's cheeks, once round with innocence, were now hollow. His eyes, once bright, dimmed with fatigue. "Mummy," Chica murmured, tugging her wrapper weakly. "I'm tired." She brushed his cheek gently with trembling fingers. "I know, my love. Just a little longer. Maybe someone will help us today." But even as she said it, she knew the truth. Kindness rarely stopped for the poor. Chica leaned against her shoulder, his small body warm but frighteningly light. She adjusted him carefully, kissing his forehead. It felt too hot. Fear pricked her heart. "You're burning," she whispered. He didn't respond. His eyes fluttered slowly, his breath shallow. Amara panicked. "Chica, look at me. My baby, look at me." He blinked once, then swayed. "Mummy," he whispered. Before she could catch him, his legs buckled. Amara screamed as Chica collapsed into her arms, limp as cloth. People looked up from their stalls. Some hurried over, others watched from a distance. "Bring water!" someone shouted. "Maybe it's malaria," another added. "God, the boy is too hot." Amara held him tightly, crying uncontrollably. "Please, somebody help me! Please! My son can't breathe right! Help me!" But helplessness surrounded her. The Akara seller shook her head helplessly. Another woman tried fanning Chica with a piece of cardboard. Sweat poured down Amara's face as she rocked him. "Chica, wake up! Stay with me! Stay with Mama!" Her voice shook with terror. At that same moment, miles away in his sleek office, Daniel couldn't concentrate. Not on the contracts before him, nor the meeting he was supposed to attend. His thoughts kept drifting to Amara, to Chica, to the agony in her eyes. His chest felt tight, breath shallow. He stood abruptly. "Tunde?" His driver appeared instantly. "Sir?" "Get the car. We're going back." Back to, you know where, Daniel snapped, grabbing his jacket. Hurry! They rushed to the car. As they drove toward the old district, rain began to sprinkle across the windshield. Daniel's heart pounded violently, a painful rhythm he couldn't slow. Faster, Tunde. Yes, sir. The car swerved through narrow streets, splashing through puddles. As they approached the market area, Daniel saw a crowd gathered. Something twisted in his gut. Tunde, stop. He jumped out even before the car fully halted. His shoes splashed into muddy water as he pushed through the crowd. Then he heard her. Chica, please open your eyes. My baby, don't leave me. Amara's voice was raw, broken beyond repair. Daniel pushed forward until he saw her kneeling on the ground, holding Chica against her chest. The boy's eyes were half open, his breath shallow, his body limp. Daniel's world shattered. Amara, he shouted. She looked up, her face streaked with tears, fear, and despair. There was no anger in her eyes now, only terror. Daniel, she cried, her voice cracking. He's not breathing well. Please, please help me. I can't lose him. I can't lose my baby. Daniel knelt instantly, his hands trembling as he touched Chica's forehead. It was burning. His skin was damp with sweat, his breathing faint and irregular. Tunde, Daniel roared. Open the back door, now! Yes, sir. Daniel scooped the child into his arms, holding him tight against his chest. The boy's head rolled weakly, his small hand twitching against Daniel's shirt. Amara, come, Daniel urged. She scrambled to her feet, gripping the car door. Hospital, Daniel commanded. Drive like your life depends on it. The SUV sped off, tires screeching against the wet road. Inside, Amara was sobbing uncontrollably. Please, God, please save my son. Please. Daniel held Chica close, feeling the child's warm breath falter. Stay with me, he whispered to the boy, voice breaking. Stay with me, my son. Please. He felt Amara's hand grip his sleeve. Don't let him die, Daniel, she sobbed. Please. And for the first time in his life, money, pride, power, everything felt completely meaningless. The only thing that mattered was the small, fragile life fading in his arms. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and cold air, a sharp contrast to the chaos of the old district. Nurses hurried past with files in hand, the steady beeping of machines echoing faintly from nearby rooms. Daniel paced back and forth outside the emergency ward, one hand gripping his hair, the other clenched tightly at his side. Every second felt like a lifetime, every silence a threat. Through the glass window, he could glimpse doctors bending over Chica's small body. The child lay motionless, an oxygen mask covering half his face, drips connected to his arm. Amara sat on a chair near the door, her hands clasped so tightly that her knuckles were white. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her body trembling with exhaustion and fear. A nurse approached quietly. Madam, she said gently, your son came in with severe malaria. He was dangerously dehydrated and his fever was too high. But he is stable now. The doctors are doing everything possible. Amara nodded, tears rolling silently down her face. Daniel walked over slowly. Amara, he said softly, his voice breaking, I've paid for everything. He'll get the best treatment. I promise. She didn't look at him. Her gaze stayed fixed on the glass, watching the faint rise and fall of Chica's chest. Money, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, is what you chose over us. Money is what you protected the day you threw me out. Daniel swallowed hard. I know, and I regret every second of it. She turned her head slightly, her eyes filled with both pain and disbelief. Regret? She repeated. Do you know how many nights I begged God to let my child live through his fever? How many times I soaked my wrapper with tears because I had no food to give him? Do you know how many people insulted me while I begged on the roadside? Regret does not erase years of suffering. Daniel's heart clenched. You're right, he whispered. I can't erase what I did. I can't erase the rain I threw you into, or the hunger you and Chica lived through. But please let me do something now. Let me fix even a fraction of what I damaged. Before Amara could reply, the doctor stepped out of the ward, a tall man with calm eyes. Are you the parents? He asked. Both Daniel and Amara stood instinctively. Yes, they said together. The doctor nodded. Your son is stable. He responded well to the medication. His fever is dropping. But he needs time and proper care. And whatever stress he has been exposed to must stop. This child has fought too many silent battles. Amara covered her mouth as tears overflowed. Relief washed over her in a trembling wave. Thank you, doctor, Daniel breathed. You can see him now, the doctor added before walking away. Inside the ward, Chica lay peacefully, his breathing steady. Amara rushed to his bedside, brushing his hair gently, kissing his forehead. My baby, she whispered, my strong boy. Daniel stood at the foot of the bed, overwhelmed by the sight. After a long moment, Chica's eyes fluttered open. He looked at his mother first, then at Daniel. Mummy, he murmured weakly, I had a dream, a big house. Amara laughed through her tears. Daniel moved closer, voice thick. Chica, I'm Daniel. I'm your father. The boy blinked slowly. You look like me. Daniel let out a broken laugh, wiping his eyes. Yes, I do. Amara watched silently, emotion tightening her chest. There was pain, but also something softer, something too fragile to name. Amara, Daniel said gently, turning to her, please let me take responsibility. Let me provide for him. Let me help you. I will tell the world the truth. I will confront my mother. I will end all ties with Chica. I will set up something for you, business, home, safety, because I owe you that and more. She shook her head slowly. This is not about owing, Daniel. It's about trust. It's about the wounds you gave me. I know, he whispered, and I won't force anything. Just let me start from somewhere. Let me be a father. She looked down at Chica, then back at Daniel. Tears filled her eyes. We will start with the truth, she said softly. Be a father to your son. The rest will heal in time. Months later, the old district buzzed with whispers. The once begging woman now had a shop. Her son attended school in a neat uniform. And sometimes, when people passed by, they saw Daniel inside the shop, helping Chica with homework while Amara arranged goods quietly beside them. Not lovers, not yet, but rebuilding gently, slowly, with truth and patience. A different ending, a second chance born from pain. And this time, nobody walked away.